Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are really digging into something crucial. It's the roadmap shaping global economic strategy for the next 5 years, China's 15th five-year plan. We've got the newly approved proposal here, the one for National Economic and Social Development, 2026-2030, just approved October 22nd, 2025. We've boiled down its complex shifts into insights you can use. And this isn't just dry policy speak. Think of it as the essential guide for capital, for tech focus, for risk, really for any investor or trader looking at China.
Absolutely. Know China to do better business. Save time and money with expert insights on China trade and investment. Welcome to our channel, Trade with China. Today, we are going to dive into exactly that. Our mission really is to cut through the noise. We're focusing specifically on how this 15th plan, fundamentally differs from the 14th, and crucially, what those changes mean for you, for anyone trying to navigate trade and investment there in what's, let's face it, a very competitive landscape.
Right, that distinction is vital. The talk around the 14th plan was all about launching a new era. But what we need to grasp now is that the 15th, it signals a major pivot, doesn't it? Moving away from just chasing volume growth towards something more focused on quality, efficiency, and maybe above all, resilience. So let's start right there. The 14th FYP kicked off the journey towards that 2035 goal. Where does this new plan, the 15th, actually fit in? Is it just tweaking things, or is it strategically much heavier?
Oh, it carries significantly more weight, and that's something often, missed in analysis outside China. The 14th plan was the launch phase. It marked completing that first centenary goal. It laid the groundwork. But what's really interesting now is how the 15th plan is positioned strategically. It's explicitly called a critical period.
A critical period.
Yes, a critical period for consolidating the foundation needed to hit that 2035 goal of basically achieving socialist modernization. The proposal even describes it as holding an important connecting position in that timeline.
An important connecting position.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like the pressure's really on now to execute. If the 14th was, say, drawing the blueprint for a skyscraper, the 15th sounds like it's actually pouring the concrete for the first 10 floors. It's about solid structure, immediate results, not just the big vision.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Exactly. This shift, from starting point to connecting position, it suggests much more pragmatism, more accountability. It implies that, local governments, state companies, they'll face more pressure to deliver tangible, high-quality results, not just growth numbers.
Because they need to consolidate.
Precisely. Consolidate towards that hard 2035 target. If they miss quality goals now, it could jeopardize the whole timeline. So for investors, this could mean efficiency gains, yes, but also less room for low-quality, inefficient projects.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's pivot to the core economic engine then, because this seems like the most explicit change for investors. The 14th plan talked about innovation-driven development generally, but the 15th, it seems to really elevate this idea of new quality productive forces, or NQPF. So what exactly is NQPF, and why is giving it top billing such a potential game changer?
Right, NQPF, it's definitely more than just the latest buzzword. You could call it a new economic paradigm, actually.
Yeah.
It refers to these advanced productive forces. Think high technology, high efficiency, and high quality, all fundamentally driven by tech innovation. And the 15th plan is explicit, because the country must accelerate high-level technological self-reliance and self-improvement, and lead the development of new quality productive forces.
Lead the development.
Yes, that elevates NQPF from just being a supportive policy to being an independent core strategic direction. For years, innovation drove growth. Now, creating these NQPF is the growth mechanism. It's a pretty direct response, I think, to global supply chain issues and those tech containment efforts we've seen.
So for our listeners, the investors and traders, where's the actual focus? Where will the resources be concentrated? Are we seeing money pulled from older sectors to chase these new ambitious NQPF targets?
That's the critical question, isn't it? The resources are clearly being aimed at securing the technological future. The plan talks about holistically advancing education, science, tech, talent, the whole ecosystem. But the real investment signal is the mandate to seize the commanding heights of scientific and technological development.
Commanding heights. Sounds ambitious.
It is. And it's not just about general tech upgrades. It's about strategic industrial development. Yes, traditional industries get optimized, but the plan aggressively targets future industries. The sources explicitly name fields like quantum information, brain science, synthetic biology, frontier stuff.
Wow. Quantum, brain science.
Exactly. This means those sectors are basically getting a massive state-backed green light. If you're an investor, these are the areas where you'll likely see the most regulatory support, capital access, and talent pooling.
But hold on. isn't chasing those future industries incredibly high risk? I mean, quantum computing, brain science, they seem decades from mass commercial use. Does this ambition risk pulling capital and talent away from established, maybe more immediately profitable sectors? Could that create a sort of structural risk for investors looking at shorter, medium-term returns?
It absolutely involves risk, no question.
Yeah.
But the goal here isn't purely profit, you see. It's national strategic independence. It's about occupying that next frontier of global tech. Think of it as national risk mitigation, making sure China isn't just a technology consumer in the 2030s.
Okay, so it's a strategic imperative first, profit second.
In these specific future industries, yes. So for a foreign investor, maybe partnering with a Chinese firm in, say, synthetic biology could offer huge state support. But it also comes with all the regulatory complexity of a strategic sector. High risk, yes, but the potential access to state R&D and market cap could also be massive.
Which brings us neatly to something that makes the investor calculation even trickier: security. Under the 14th plan, the line was coordinating development and security. But the 15th seems to put security right at the very top, overarching everything. What's the fundamental principle we need to understand here?
The shift is, well, it's dramatic. The guiding principle is stated very clearly. The security framework directing the overall development framework.
Directing it, not coordinating with it.
Exactly. Security isn't a co-equal goal anymore. It's the fundamental prerequisite. Everything else, economic, social development, rests on it. And the why is pretty clear, isn't it? Intensifying geopolitical friction, tech competition globally. The 15th plan aims to get security barriers more solidly consolidated and to proactively head off new type risks. So this security lens now filters decisions across the board: economic, tech, industrial, social.
Okay, so practically speaking, what does that look like on the ground for a foreign company? When security directs development, how does that become, say, operational friction or new compliance hurdles that weren't there before?
It translates pretty directly into things like localization pressures and data governance demands. Foreign firms now really have to build resilience and tech self-reliance into their own partnership strategies inside China.
How so?
Well, look at cross-border data rules, for example, or sourcing sensitive components. There's likely going to be increasing requirements for localized R&D. Security demands a certain level of internal self-sufficiency in technology now. So foreign firms might feel more pressure to localize tech transfer, maybe form JVs with really robust IP protection, and definitely meet evolving domestic standards, especially around information infrastructure. Security is becoming a tangible cost of doing business.
That's much clearer, thank you. Let's shift focus inward now to the domestic market itself. Expanding domestic demand, that's always been a goal, right? But how does the 15th plan upgrade this internal consumption idea strategically?
It gets a significant upgrade. The domestic market is now termed a strategic foundation point.
A foundation point.
Yes. And that's more than just policy language. It's a recognition that relying on consumption is crucial for stabilizing the economy against external shocks, trade disputes, global downturns, you name it. So the plan explicitly proposes vigorously boosting consumption as a core task. That signals active policy changes aimed at strengthening domestic circulation, the internal market.
And it's not just about telling people to spend more.
No, it implies structural reforms too, boosting incomes, improving the quality of goods and services available, things needed to sustain that spending long term.
Which connects directly to common prosperity, CP. The 14th plan introduced it, but more as a long-term vision. Has the 15th put a deadline on it, made it a more immediate business concern?
Absolutely. It's been made much more concrete. The 15th plan shifts CP from being, an abstract goal way down the line,
right,
to a policy commitment demanding substantial progress toward common prosperity as a specific outcome needed by 2030. It's phase-based now.
Substantial progress by 2030.
Wow. And the key detail for investors, showing how they might achieve this, is the focus on the achievement of equalization of basic public services.
Equalization of basic public services.
Yeah. Think massive investment in areas like basic healthcare, primary education, affordable housing. It's that investment in people idea. Improve livelihoods, reduce inequality, and that creates a more stable base for consumption growth.
So if you're in sectors related to those public services.
Exactly. The potential for regulated, state-supported growth seems pretty clear there.
Okay, last area then, looking outward. Engagement with the world. Given this intense focus on self-reliance and the whole security framework, how does the 15th plan talk about opening up? Is China pulling back or just changing the rules of engagement?
It's definitely changing the rules of engagement. It signals a deeper phase of reform, I'd say, not a retreat. The 15th FYP introduces this new concept,
Right.
institution-based opening up, which goes way beyond just opening specific markets or setting up free trade zones like the focus before.
Institution-based opening up, what does that mean practically?
It means the focus shifts to opening up at the institutional level. Think rules-based opening up, standard-based opening up. It suggests China intends to align its domestic regulations more closely with international standards, but crucially, on its own terms and its own timeline.
So that sounds like a new challenge for foreign firms. You're not just adapting to Chinese markets anymore, but to evolving Chinese rules and standards.
Precisely. Institutional alignment becomes, in a way, the new price of access. Foreign companies will need to be nimble, adapting quickly to changing domestic standards, whether it's environmental rules, data security protocols, technical product specs.
So it provides some clarity, maybe for long-term players, but demands more diligence.
Exactly. This rules-based approach offers clarity but requires much closer attention to regulatory compliance. It really indicates China is moving from being mainly a recipient of global rules to actively trying to shape them, using its own domestic standard as leverage in this new engagement framework.
This has been a really useful walkthrough. Okay, let's try to summarize the biggest shifts we've identified. We've gone from a strategic launch phase to more of a pragmatic consolidation phase. Is that fair?
Yes, I think so.
We've moved from general innovation talk to this very focused, state-directed NQPF new quality productive forces.
Correct. Highly targeted.
And maybe most crucially, we've shifted from coordinating security with development to having the security framework essentially direct the entire development model.
That captures the core shifts perfectly. The 15th FYP is intensely focused on quality, resilience, and hitting those national strategic goals by 2035. And the twin engines driving it seem to be tech advancement via NQPF and robust, high-quality domestic consumption underpinned by social investment. So my final thought for you, for the listeners, is really this: that elevation of the security framework. It means foreign firms need to seriously rethink partnerships. Any company that can strategically align with China's goal of internal resilience, maybe by providing localized tech or ensuring stable, high-quality supplies within China, they'll likely find a much more favorable operating environment.
More favorable than those just trying a pure market entry strategy based on imports alone.
I believe so. Integration into that resilience goal seems key going forward.
That's powerful insight for navigating the next 5 years. Thanks for breaking down this complex material for us today. This channel will bring you practical knowledge to navigate business, investment, culture, economic trends, and communication tips and trades with China. Your comments really encourage us to realize our video value and update more useful information. Please press like, subscribe now for actionable insights and win-win solutions. Not to miss the possibility to understand and make money in trades with China.